On March 28, a 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck central Myanmar. It sent shockwaves across other parts of Southeast Asia and China, leaving a trail of death and destruction. The death toll exceeded 2,800 and more than 3,400 people were injured. Thousands of kilometers from the epicenter, the earthquake caused the collapse of a high-rise building under construction in Bangkok. Killing at least 9 people and leaving many others missing. Bangkok's elevated train service was shut down in the wake of the tremor. People even fled from tall buildings after the city was placed in a state of emergency. But what caused the Myanmar earthquake? How did it have such a powerful effect so far away in Thailand? Why did just one tower collapse in Bangkok? And how vulnerable are Myanmar and Thailand to earthquakes? All this and more on WION Wideangle this week. Buildings came down like a pack of cards. People screaming and running helter-skelter to find refuge. These scenes unfolded in central Myanmar and neighboring Thailand, when a 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck Myanmar on the 28th of March. The earthquake hit near Mandalay, Myanmar's second largest city, at 12:50 p.m. local time. And 11 minutes later, an aftershock hit the same area. Reportedly, 3 earthquakes of magnitude 7.7 or greater have struck in or near Myanmar in the last century. So what caused the earthquake in Myanmar this year, and why was it deadly? Let's understand. The Earth's upper layer is split into different sections called tectonic plates. These plates keep moving constantly. It is this movement that causes earthquakes and volcanoes. Myanmar is one of the world's most seismically active countries. It sits on top of the convergence of 4 tectonic plates: the Eurasian plate, the Indian plate, the Sunda plate, and the Burma microplate. To accommodate the motion, faults, meaning cracks or fractures, appear in the rocks. This allows tectonic plates to slither sideways, leading to earthquakes. Central Myanmar, where large plates of the Earth's crust are in motion, is prone to earthquakes. Myanmar's vulnerability to earthquakes is largely due to its location along the Sagaing fault. It is a major tectonic boundary between the Indian plate and the Burma microplate. It cuts right through Myanmar, north to south, and is more than 1,200 kilometers long. Data suggests that the movement that caused a 7.7 magnitude earthquake was a strike slip, where 2 blocks move horizontally along each other. This aligns with the movement typical of the Sagaing fault. As the plates move past each other, they sometimes get stuck, building friction until it is released, and the Earth shifts, causing an earthquake.
Well, the strike slip is when the crust is moving apart along the faults horizontally. So the crust of the Indian plate, which is moving northward relative to the Eurasia, and the Burma area, Burma plate, is moving southward relatively to the Indian Ocean plate. And that's a strike slip fault like the San Andreas fault, for example, in California. And that's the cause of the Myanmar earthquake. Well, with such a magnitude, it's very difficult to expect that the aftershocks will be over very soon, because with magnitude 7.7, there usually are aftershocks for several weeks or even months.
The death toll has continued to rise since the disaster. Official figures put the number at beyond 2,800 as of April 2nd. Building after building in Myanmar's second largest city, Mandalay, and beyond lie in ruins. Damaged roads, bridges, and downed power lines have made it impossible for rescue teams to reach many communities in Myanmar, which has been engulfed by war since the junta seized power in a coup 4 years ago in 2021. The Indian Space Research Organization has released pictures of the damage caused by this earthquake in Myanmar that killed thousands of people. The images were taken by the Earth Imaging and Mapping Satellite Cartosat-3. The earthquake's epicenter was near Mandalay, Myanmar's second largest city, which suffered extensive damage. A video shows the Ava Bridge in Mandalay, which was originally built by the British in the 1930s, had partly collapsed. Take a look at the other pictures. Alongside reports of widespread damage, gripping stories of survival and accounts of devastating loss also came to the forefront. Residents scrambled through collapsed buildings, searching for survivors as aftershocks rattled the devastated city of Mandalay. A video recorded by a teenage girl showed her ordeal as she was trapped with her sister and grandmother in the wreckage of their quake-hit apartment building in Myanmar. The three of them were confined in a small space surrounded by debris of the collapsed Sky Villa condo in Mandalay. One of the girls was seen banging on the rubble of the wreckage and crying for help. Faint voices could also be heard from beyond the walls. Thankfully, the teenagers and their grandmother were later rescued. In another part of the city, tea shop owner Vin Levin picked his way through the remains of a collapsed restaurant. He lifted the rubble and helped people to come out of it.
Now, there are still many places where rescuers can help. We don't know whether people are trapped under the rubble. Quite a lot of places still need help.
In yet another story from Mandalay, rescuers pulled a woman alive from the wreckage of a collapsed apartment building. Applause rang out as Phu Lai Kang was brought out of the condominium rubble on a stretcher. Her husband embraced her as the stretcher was lifted down.
I am so worried about my wife and heavy-minded. At the beginning, I didn't think she would be alive because the floor they were stuck on. People have very little chance to live. I am very happy that I heard good news that she's alive.
These stories of survival keep emerging as rescuers continue to grapple with the scale of the devastation. Strong tremors were also felt in neighboring Thailand, particularly in the capital, Bangkok, where around 11 million people live in the metropolitan area. While the dramatic footage emerged of high-rise buildings in Bangkok swaying during the quake, it was the unfinished building in Bangkok that had collapsed completely. At least 18 people died in Bangkok, 33 injured, and 78 remain missing. Search and rescue operations continue at the collapsed building site. Rescue teams scaled the wreckage with search dogs on standby to detect any signs of life. Despite the relentless efforts, some relatives have begun to accept the grim reality of the situation.
We have to stay strong. We can't afford to be weak because we have to wait for our child. We can't break down. We can't get sick.
The rescue teams are doing their best. I can see that, just like what we've seen in the news. However it turns out, that's how it has to be. We just have to accept that things will be the way they are.
Amid all the chaos in the city due to the earthquake, a Thai woman gave birth to a baby in a hospital as it was being evacuated. 36-year-old Kantong Sainwangshin had come in for a routine checkup, but went into labor shortly after the tremors began. She was put on a hospital bed and gave birth to a baby girl.
I was telling my baby, don't come out yet. But the pain kept growing and growing. Then I was put on a hospital bed and was surrounded by a lot of medical staff, where I just gave birth right then and there. It was all a shock to me too. Once my baby is born, the ground stopped shaking. I felt great. I saw my child and the earthquake stopped. I am so impressed and happy by how the hospital took care of me.
Earthquake-resistant buildings are more expensive to construct, and Thailand, unlike Myanmar, does not frequently experience earthquakes. Before 2009, Bangkok reportedly did not have a comprehensive safety standard for constructing buildings to withstand earthquakes. This means that older buildings would have been particularly vulnerable. Yet, the building that collapsed was new. It was still under construction when the earthquake hit. And, in all likelihood, the updated building standards would have been applied. Questions over how and why the skyscraper collapsed are doing the rounds. The collapsed building was reportedly the unfinished headquarters of Thailand's State Audit Office. It had been under construction for 3 years at a cost of more than 2 billion Thai baht, or around $58 million. It was a joint venture between Italian Thai Development plc and China Railway No. 10 Group. China Railway No. 10 Thailand is a subsidiary of a Chinese firm. The company serves as a construction contractor for office buildings, residential buildings, public roads, railways, and underground railways. Thai authorities have ordered an investigation into that isolated collapse to determine whether it could have been due to inadequate building materials, design flaws, or a failure in the inspection process.
Well, Thailand and Bangkok in particular is very far away from the epicenter area. And the reason why it made collapses of the skyscraper, for example, the building, was related possibly both to the low quality of the building, but also to the amplification of the shaking due to the presence of sandy layers and amplification and side effects, what we call an amplification due to the presence of sediments which slow down the energy of the seismic waves, which are amplified, and therefore they produce a stronger shaking, especially for buildings which have a low frequency of oscillation like skyscraper. What I know is that for sure Bangkok is built on an area with very low quality sediments, and that's why there may be these amplification effects.
The Myanmar quake's tremors were felt across several neighboring countries too, including China, India, Vietnam and Bangladesh. Amid the devastation, CCTV footage from a hospital in China's Yunnan shows how two maternity ward nurses risked their lives to protect newborns as the earthquake violently shook the facility. The violent shaking caused the wheeled beds to roll uncontrollably across the room. The nurses struggled to maintain their balance while making sure the infants remained unharmed. Let's now look at the other recent earthquakes that made headlines. In late January this year, a highly unusual series of earthquakes alarmed the authorities in Greece. Scientists detected nearly 8,000 earthquakes in just over 2 weeks near Greece's volcanic island of Santorini, the largest of these tremors. Registering a magnitude of 5.2 raised fears among locals and tourists alike. Approximately 11,000 people were evacuated from the island by sea, with ferry operators and airlines assisting in the effort. A state of emergency was declared on Santorini. Santorini is a popular tourist destination in Greece, known for its iconic white and blue buildings, and is part of the Cyclades group of islands in the Aegean Sea. The islands have a volcanic history stretching back 650,000 years. Earthquakes are common in the region, but the frequency and intensity of the recent quakes have caused widespread concern. Authorities have also noted the risk of larger tremors that could potentially trigger a tsunami. On the 13th of March 2025, a 4.4 magnitude earthquake struck near the Italian city of Naples, shaking buildings, cutting power, and sending frightened locals onto the streets. Images from the affected areas show damaged buildings, fallen debris, and a car with a smashed windscreen.
I was sleeping, and suddenly I heard a terrible bang. I had never heard one so loud. It was a very bad moment. Then, of course, when I got up, I turned on the lights and saw that my house is full of cracks. There are cracks everywhere.
It was very strong, very impressive. It's true that we are partly used to it here, but it was still very strong. You can see the damage.
Naples sits atop the Campi Flegrei, a vast area known for its seismic activity. Declared a regional park 20 years ago, the area includes 15 towns with a combined population of over 500,000 residents, many of whom live in the high-risk red zone. The Campi Flegrei volcano last erupted in 1538, but seismic activity has been on the rise in recent decades. According to a recent government report, Japan could face economic losses of up to $1.81 trillion due to a potential megaquake along its Pacific coast, causing nearly 300,000 fatalities. Japan, one of the world's most earthquake-prone nations, faces an 80% probability of a magnitude 8 to 9 earthquake occurring in the Nankai Trough. The seismic zone, stretching 900 kilometers along the southwest Pacific coast, is where the Philippine Sea Plate is subducting under the Eurasian Plate. Reportedly, megaquakes occur in this region once every 100 to 150 years. In 2011, an earthquake of 8.9 magnitude ensued, generated a tsunami that led to over 15,000 deaths and triggered nuclear reactor meltdowns in the northeast. The recent report emphasizes the importance of disaster preparedness, predicting significant destruction, and the necessity for mass evacuations in case of an earthquake. The report warns that up to 298,000 casualties could occur if the disaster strikes late at night in winter, as tsunamis and buildings collapses would intensify the impact. While earthquakes can't be prevented, buildings can be constructed in a manner that minimizes deaths and injuries during an earthquake and its aftershocks. Strengthening resilience involves adopting the latest building codes for new construction and retrofitting existing buildings. Measures such as properly connecting walls and slabs, sizing a building's structure using updated technologies, and implementing base isolation can significantly enhance a building's resilience. High-rise buildings or skyscrapers are being built in cities around the world. They have become symbols of economic growth, but it only takes one deadly quake to shake their foundation and bring them down to the ground. Hence, the need of the hour is to prioritize the construction of earthquake-resistant structures, especially in regions prone to seismic activity, as well as in other areas.